There's a difference between creating from a place of inspiration and creating from a place of fear. When you're creating from a place of inspiration, it's not fear that which is ruling everything that you do. When you are creating from a place of ego, of competition, of rushing, of comparison, the creative process in itself is not enjoyable. And the creative process for all of us is meant to be enjoyable. And not only it's meant to be enjoyable, but we came here, us human beings came here to create. We are creative beings. We are creators. And that's why tapping into our creativity and doing things that are helping us put this to practice is so important. The problem is that we are used to creating from the wrong place. And that's the reason why we stop doing things. That's the reason why we stop trying new things. That's the reason why we get scared and paranoid and fearful when somebody asks us to create something. Can you build a plan for this? Can you put up a strategy for this? What does your next year look like? Can you maybe cook this thing for me for this party that we're hosting? Can you help me out with this thing? Have you thought about starting that thing? We are so afraid of the creative process because we have not developed the habit of creating from the right place, which is from a place of inspiration. When we create from a place of inspiration, the creative process is effortless. When we create from a place of inspiration, we become one with something bigger. We become one with the source of it all. We become one with nature. We become one with the wisdom within us, which is the same wisdom that has created everything that we see out there. It's the same wisdom that we see in nature, in a beautiful tree, a beautiful flower, when you look at the sea. But it's also the wisdom that is flowing through the people that you admire the most. When you look at someone and you're like, damn, how are they so smart? Or how did they put that together? How did they create that? There is a level of wisdom there that is available everywhere, which is also available to you. And that is the level that you need to connect to before you embark on your creative process. It's not the same to create from a mental state where you are being constantly triggered by distractions, where you are being constantly triggered by self-sabotaging thoughts that are telling you that's not the right way to go. That's not the right way to do it. What if this person doesn't like what you're writing here? How do you think that other person is doing this? What do you think this person is going to think about what you're trying to come up with here? I bet that other person would have a better idea or would have a better plan. If you are creating from a place where you are being bombarded by both external triggers and internal triggers being those self-sabotaging thoughts that are constantly haunting you in your creative process, and the external triggers being distractions that you have gotten used to having. If you are constantly checking notifications and you are used to putting down fires, even when there is no fire to put down, you are looking for one because you become so used to living in this state of reaction where you are constantly reacting to things happening inside of yourself and outside of yourself. When you are used to living like this, you have not developed, perhaps, likely, the skill to relax into a creative process. When you relax into a creative process, you go into an internal environment that is ruled by trust. You trust yourself. You trust your ideas. You trust what's coming to you. You trust that flow. You trust that whatever answer you're looking for is going to come. You trust that it's going to arrive. You trust that you've got this. You trust that you are as valuable as anyone else in this world to create. You trust in your uniqueness. You know that there's no point in comparing yourself to other people because you are unique in your own kind of way, and there will be ideas that will come to you that will not arrive to other people. There are ideas that are meant to be channeled through you. I'm going to say that again. There are ideas that are meant to be channeled through you. And if you don't allow yourself to put yourself in that creative and inspired inner environment, if you don't allow that to yourself, what you are doing is you are robbing yourself and the world from seeing those ideas that can only see the world through you. Because nobody has had, until now, the combination of life experiences and work experiences and personal experiences and relationship experiences that you have had. You're going to bring into anything that you do a different perspective. You're going to see anything around you in a different way in comparison to how others see it. And when it's time for you to create something, that creation is going to be colored by those experiences that you've had. When I talk about the creative process, I'm talking about everything. I'm not talking just about a painting or an essay. Those are, of course, creations, and that's also part of it. But it's not just that. I'm talking also about the work that you do, whether it is understood in general and perceived as a creative work, or even if it's not perceived as a very creative and fun work. Because if you are building something, you are bringing to life something that didn't exist yesterday, you are creating, and you have an opportunity there to do it your way, to make it different, to make it beautiful, to make it unique, to make it outstanding. Even if when you're working, your role doesn't say, nobody's expecting from you to create something new, you can always develop new ways of doing things. But it's not just about work. That was just an example. It's also about creating your life. It's also about what your day looks like tomorrow. That's an act of creation. It's when you're planning what you're going to be doing the next week, the next month, the next year. When you're visualizing yourself, you are creating that. You create your life. You start creating your life the minute that you close your eyes for a second and have a vision, an imaginary vision of what you could be. That's the minute that you start creating your life. And then it's not just about the big creating your life, but also the little things, the little actions, the little tasks that you are doing in your life, the little challenges that you are overcoming. How you overcome those challenges is a creative process. If you are used to creating from a place of fear and comparison and competition, you are used to creating from a place of ego. You are used to creating from your small self. And I want to invite you to start creating from a place of inspiration. And so the first thing that we need to do to tap into a place of inspiration before we embark on any creative process is to shut off the external distractions. And this is something that we actually have to schedule. This is something that you have to allow yourself to do guilt-free. So the first thing, even before that, is noticing what are my external triggers that are keeping me from creating from a place of inspiration. What is the thing that's distracting me all of the time? Is it some kind of notification in some chat, in some application? Maybe it's Instagram, maybe it's WhatsApp, maybe it's Slack, maybe it's Teams, maybe it's Facebook. It can be anything. Is that the thing that is keeping me from being creative? Or is that perhaps just the channel? Is that one of the things that's keeping me from being creative? Or is it the messages that are coming through those channels and then my interpretation of those messages and the control that I give to that information to control the outcome of my creative process? What are the thoughts that I hear when I am embarking a creative process? And I want you there to shift your attention right now from what we were talking about earlier, which is the external triggers, to the internal triggers. And let's take a moment to notice that those are actually the same. Because what's happening is that we are receiving these messages from the external world, and those are coming through different channels that can be applications, and those can be in our personal life or in our professional life. But at the end of the day, what we are receiving is these messages, and we are interpreting those messages, and we are giving a meaning to those messages, and we are allowing those messages to control our creative process. And that all happens internally. So when did the external become internal? You don't even know. You don't even know. And that's how you give away your power in the creative process. That's how you become used to creating from a place of fear, of comparison, of competition, of rushing. Because you are so connected to what's happening externally that you cannot even tell the difference anymore between what's happening externally and what's happening internally. And to add to that, you don't even know what's happening externally because all we have is an interpretation of that. So what is in our control is actually everything. Is the ability to decide how much of those external triggers we are going to allow to control ourselves and our actions. What we are going to do now is we are going to decide how much power we're going to give to the external channels and to the external messages. And by saying that we're going to control the external messages, it's not that we're going to control the messages. It's that we're going to control the meaning that we give to those messages. And we're going to control how much we allow those to rule our creative process. The minute that you start to become better at observing what's happening internally, that's when you start to become really good at letting go. That's when you start to become really good at not being bothered by it anymore. Because you see the thought, you see the criticism, you see the comparison, you see the rushing, and you can see it. You know that even though you feel it, you feel it because it's a response to the thought that is popping in your mind. Even though it's there, even though it's internal, it was just about to stop you when you realized it doesn't matter. That doesn't matter. Let me go back to my own intuition. Let me go back to my own source of inspiration. Let me go back to my trust. Let me go back to trusting myself. Let me go back to stop wasting my time focusing on all of these thoughts that are doing nothing for me. All that they're doing is distracting me from my own source of wisdom, from my own source of inspiration. All that they're doing is keeping me away from my creative process that I deserve to embark on because I am a creative being and that's what I'm supposed to be doing. It is that simple. We are all supposed to be creating. And we are all supposed to be creating in our own way. We are all supposed to be creating our lives. And we're all supposed to be creating the little actions in our lives. And we're all supposed to be adding our own sauce and vibe and energy and experience and our own perspective to everything that we create. That's what we're all supposed to be doing. So I invite you to start creating from a place of inspiration and to put yourself more in an inspired environment internally, and to help yourself to externally remove yourself from those external distractions that are blocking your creativity, so that you can start to nurture more your connection to your inner wisdom and to your ability to trust yourself, because you deserve it. You deserve to trust yourself.